All right, ready to dive into the games gods play.
Absolutely, let's do it. This one's got so much to unpack, especially with a character like Lyra.
Right. Talk about a rough start. I mean, cursed by Zeus before you're even born. That's hardcore.
No kidding. And not just any curse, right? To live a life where no one can love you. Brutal.
It's like, how do you even begin to process that? And then she gets dumped in the Order of Thieves.
Which we know is no walk in the park. Owen doesn't sugarcoat how harsh it is.
Not at all. That scene where she's describing her upbringing, it's practically straight out of Oliver Twist, but with more, mythology.
And fight scenes.
Right. And that's what makes Lyra so compelling. She's got this tough exterior, the scars, the attitude, but you can tell the curse really messed her up.
Oh, totally. It's like this constant weight on her, shaping how she sees herself and everyone around her.
Exactly. Like when Boone tries to be nice to her after,
After that disaster with the other champions, yeah, that was rough.
she completely loses it on him. Boone, who's been nothing but decent, and she's ready to take his head off.
And that's the curse in action, this constant fear of vulnerability, of letting anyone get close. She's expecting betrayal, expecting pain, because that's all she's ever known.
Which makes sense, in a way, when you consider the whole Greek mythology angle. Like,
Yeah.
Zeus's curse isn't just some empty threat. It has actual consequences in this world.
Oh, for sure. The gods in Owen's universe, they don't mess around. Their whims, their grudges, they have a real impact on mortals' lives. It's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
No kidding, it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy hanging over her. It's no wonder she pushes people away.
It's a defense mechanism, right? If she doesn't let anyone in, they can't hurt her. And that ties directly into the whole Crucible situation.
Oh, absolutely. The stakes were already high, but knowing that she's competing for a god who basically cursed her to a life of loneliness, that's messed up.
Talk about pressure. I mean, you're fighting for your life, for the fate of the world, and trying to prove yourself to a god who's already written you off as unlovable. Intense.
It makes her reactions even more understandable. She's angry, she's guarded, and she's got every right to be.
Absolutely. But even with all that baggage, you see these flashes of defiance in her. Like she's determined to carve out some semblance of agency in a world that seems determined to deny her that.
And that's what makes her so fascinating. She's not just a victim of circumstance, she's a fighter. But it's not all doom and gloom with Lyra.
Right. Owen gives her these little sparks of, well, sass, which I love.
Totally. Like, she's facing down gods and monsters, but she's also cracking jokes about Hades' fashion sense.
It's fantastic, and it speaks to that core strength she has. Remember we were talking about resilience? This is it in action.
Right. It's like, okay, you want to curse me? Fine. I'm still going to find a way to laugh.
Exactly. And that humor, it's not just a coping mechanism. It's part of what makes her so relatable. She's this badass warrior, but also kind of a goofball. Sign me up.
100%. And it's not just humor. We see her forming these, genuine connections, even if she tries to deny it.
Which is the curse is doing too, right? Pushing everyone away.
Totally. But then you have moments with Hades, with Boone.
Don't forget Zai. That surprised me how quickly they clicked.
Right. Two girls thrown into this insane situation. But is it really friendship when the gods are pulling the strings?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Free will versus fate. Owen's got us all wondering how much of Lyra's life is actually her own.
Which is brilliant, because it keeps us guessing. Like, are these gifts she's getting, the tattoos, the dragon teeth, are they help or the manipulation?
Or both.
Exactly. Yeah. And what about Hades? Talk about a complicated relationship.
Understatement. You've got the god of the underworld falling for her? Well,
The girl cursed to never be loved. Talk about a recipe for disaster.
But there's this undeniable chemistry between them. You can't deny it. Those stolen glances, the way they challenge each other. Owen knows how to build tension.
Oh, for sure. But again, how much of that is genuine and how much is the curse, or even just Hades trying to, manipulate her for his own ends?
It's a question, right? And what I find so fascinating is that even Hades, the god of the underworld, isn't immune to Lyra's charm.
It's true. He's supposed to be this dark, brooding figure, and he is, don't get me wrong. But with Lyra, there's this softness, this vulnerability.
It's like she brings out a side of him that he never knew existed. And that's what makes their connection so compelling.
It's like she's got this power, even if she doesn't realize it. And then, boom, Owen throws in the curveball, Lyra's parents.
Talk about a gut punch. After everything she's been through, all this abandonment, and then suddenly they're back in the picture.
And not just back in the picture. It's like this whole other layer of baggage gets dumped on her.
Right, because it makes you question everything. Like, was she always destined for this life of isolation, or did her parents play a role?
And can she even allow herself to feel love, romantic or otherwise, with that kind of hurt in her past?
And what does this mean for Hades? Does it push them closer together, this shared understanding of loss? Or does it make her even more afraid to let anyone in?
It's wild how each challenge in this crucible just seems to get more and more intense.
Right. Owen really knows how to ratchet up the tension.
Like from that underwater cavern with those creepy crawly things to like battling giant birds.
Forget the freaking minotaurs and those krakens straight out of Nightmare.
Seriously. It's like she took everything intense from Greek mythology and threw it all into this one competition.
And yet she makes it work. Because it's not just about the monsters, right? It's about what these challenges do to Lyra, how they force her to confront not just her enemies, but also herself.
Totally. And that ties back to what we were saying about resilience. It's like with every challenge, every betrayal, every wound, she just keeps getting back up.
Exactly. And that's what makes her so inspiring. Because let's be real, if we were thrown into that world, I don't know how many of us would survive, let alone thrive.
Seriously. I'd probably be curled up in a ball, begging Zeus to put me out of my misery.
Right. But Lyra, she never gives up, even when she has every reason to. And that's what makes her such a compelling protagonist. You just can't help but root for her, even when it seems like the whole universe is against her.
Totally. And it's not like she's just surviving either. She's forming bonds, making alliances, even showing compassion to those who probably don't deserve it.
Which just proves that Zeus's curse isn't as absolute as he wants it to be.
Right.
Because despite his best efforts, she's finding ways to connect with people, to form genuine relationships.
Exactly. And that makes the whole Hades situation even more complicated.
Hmm.
Because, okay, you've got this god who's supposed to be all dark and brooding.
And believe me, he's got that whole breeding thing down pat.
Oh, for sure. But then there are these moments, these stolen glances, these touches, these looks that could melt glaciers.
Owen knows how to write chemistry, let me tell you.
Seriously. And it makes you wonder, is this real love? Can he actually love her, curse or no curse? Or is he just playing her, using her for his own ends?
Right. It's like, is he truly drawn to her, to this fierce, funny, incredibly stubborn girl who challenges him at every turn?
Or is it all just a game to him? Another soul to manipulate in his endless power struggle?
And the worst part is, we don't know. Owen leaves us hanging. But that's what makes the ending so powerful. Because it forces us, the readers, to confront our own beliefs about love, about fate, about the possibility of defying even the most ancient of curses.
And that's what I love about this deep dive. We've barely scratched the surface of this book, and yet we've already uncovered so much.
Right. There's so much to unpack with Lyra's journey, with the themes of destiny and free will, with the complexities of love and loss. It's a story that stays with you long after you finish the last page.
Absolutely. And that's why The Games Gods Play is more than just another mythology retelling. It's a testament to the power of the human spirit to resist, to endure, and maybe, just maybe, to find love in the most unexpected of places.